now. It's the Rob from 106.1 Kiss FM here with my tag team partner in podcasting, hibernating Jerry Valeri. Good morning, Jerry. Can you hear me?
Even on my day off, I was up at 6 because Evan had to go to the bathroom and he needed assistance for some reason.
I'm sorry if the music was overpowering Jerry. You guys are coming in on the same channel right now, so I wasn't able to lower the music. So, thanks for. I didn't realize you were home today until 5 minutes before we did this. So, thanks for the commitment, man. I appreciate that.
Absolutely, I love this. I have a blast. I don't know where the camera is, so I'm not going to be looking at it correctly probably today. But I have the setup fixed. I'm not on top of a ladder. Everything's hardwired in. I'm not gonna lose power. I feel like this is gonna go well today.
Could we somehow get another fight with your wife?
No, we're in a good place today, but maybe next week if I'm off again, we could, give it time. And
have you been off all week?
No, just today, and then next week a couple of days. I have so many days, and the way it works is like we can roll over days, but you have to use them by a certain time, and I have till the end of April to burn out a couple.
That's cool. All right, so we've got some things to talk about. First on the docket is SmackDown Live from Tuesday.
Heck yeah.
And so I was excited for SmackDown this week because the Raw after Mania is always so explosive. And I thought that this year, more so than any year before, we may have those fireworks carry over to Tuesday because it's a live SmackDown. I figure a lot of people would hang out, and probably a lot of them did.
It stayed in Orlando. I mean, it was in the same building, right?
The same building as Raw was, not WrestleMania, obviously, but it was the same building as the night before. But for some reason, in my opinion, and tell me if you agree or disagree, SmackDown lacked the pizzazz that Raw had the night before.
It was interesting to me. It felt so underwhelming, and it's not really their fault because you can't control the crowd. But here's where I think it was their fault. Where Raw had an incredibly insane crowd, and they worked with it, but they didn't rely on it. SmackDown almost went in like expecting that Raw crowd. They started the show with JBL saying, the crowd's going to be crazy tonight. They're going to cheer the people they boo. They're going to boo the people they cheer. And he said the same thing that Corey Graves said the night before. He's like, we better watch out for this crowd, man. They're crazy. And they weren't. And it's like the whole time SmackDown was waiting for the crowd to take over, and they didn't. And you didn't have a backup plan. And SmackDown just felt super weak. I'll just go ahead and say Raw was the better show.
Oh, for sure. Well, SmackDown, I'll go as far as to say you said they lacked a backup plan. I feel like SmackDown lacked a plan in general this week.
They started by announcing 3 rematches.
Yeah. Obviously that's something I want to touch upon. Did you want to start on one of those, or where do you want to start here?
I don't know. The one rematch that annoyed me the most was Ambrose and Corbin, and why it annoyed me the most was because that match was better than their Mania match. That was the match they should have put on at WrestleMania. Well,
not only that, it had the stipulation, it had the intensity. I guarantee you they were deflated finding out they got moved to the pre-show. But to be honest with you, Jared, when it moved to the pre-show, and I can't explain what it is in me, but they told me not to care about it, so I didn't.
I didn't even see it until later. I watched it with the kids the next day. I think SmackDown also had something big going against itself. And what that was is most people had just watched 10 hours of wrestling.
That's one of my notes because I don't like to do this, and sometimes I give you grief for doing this, but I think we should fess up when we do. After 7 hours of wrestling on Sunday and 3 hours of wrestling the night before, because I did watch SmackDown on Tuesday, pretty much live, just on a small delay to catch up on the commercials. I skipped the women's match. I just didn't. I had no interest. I didn't figure anything was going to happen. It's a match I've seen plenty of times recently before. I just didn't care.
You were right to do so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I just couldn't. Plus, it seemed like it took up a good bit of time because the show was really, it was like halfway over at that point. And so there was one segment of the show that I would say kind of offended me a little bit, in just a fan kind of way. And it's like, I don't I don't like when you insult me kind of things. Well, maybe this isn't the best example of that, but so don't get me wrong. And I want everyone to really hear me out here because I like Shinsuke Nakamura.
Okay.
I'm totally on board with him.
I think he's very creative and cool. He's unique. He's got a cool style. I'm in.
So I feel like I get saddled with being a Nakamura hater, which I'm so far from being. I look forward to seeing him wrestle. I do love the air that he brings. His entrance has so much excitement. He's got a style that's just like the only thing I can compare him to. The two things I would compare him to aren't even in the world of wrestling. I'd compare him to Freddie Mercury and Michael Jackson before I'd compare him to any wrestler.
Right.
And I'm so glad he's here. But the debut was so lazy. He came out and did nothing. And that was offensive to me because why, first of all, why even interrupt The Miz if you're not going to do anything with it?
Yeah, like he interrupts The Miz at the end of The Miz's promo, and then The Miz never gets to say it. Like, is that going to be a feud now, or
there was nothing? And like, on what planet is it okay to just have a guy do his entrance? And you have to remember, a very large part of the TV audience has not seen him before. And but we're not those people, you know. We're familiar with Nakamura. I've seen him live here in Evansville, and I've seen him on NXT several times. And while I didn't love the Sami Zayn match the way other people did, I thought it was good for what it was. And you know, I'm still in the camp that I need to be convinced that he's the second coming of, you know, whoever you want to compare him to, Kurt Angle.
But like the culmination of his appearance was him doing that Beyonce thing where he like, blah, and he goes back on his knees and it's cool, but then do something, say something.
You got to have a guy like him have a really memorable debut, and all we got was his entrance.
I feel like they were like, you know what, SmackDown Live, we're gonna have Shinsuke Nakamura debut, and they were like, that's awesome. How do you want to do it? And they went, yeah. But what do you want to do with him? Like, get him to come out, and then he's going to come out, and then what? You got it. We're going to do that. What else? You know.
He should thank his lucky stars that the crowd cared about him, that it was the crowd that would care about someone from NXT coming up like that. Because if it would have not been uproarious the way it was on SmackDown, what would they have done? They would have had their thumbs up their butt because they sent him out there without a plan.
I agree with you. And so you don't come off as the only negative Nancy. May I ask you a question about a debut that evening?
Sure.
What am I missing with Ty Dillinger?
Okay. So my note about Ty Dillinger.
What am I missing? Like, this guy doesn't do it for me at all.
I think what you're missing, Jer, is that the people who love NXT think that they can do no wrong. I think that's kind of what we might be missing, because I'm with you with Ty. I still need to be convinced. My note about Ty's quote unquote debut, at least his SmackDown debut, because he had the weird appearance in the Royal Rumble because 10. Yeah, and it's fun. Which I actually, honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you. You may disagree. I think it's actually a pretty solid gimmick, the 10 thing.
I don't know where it comes from, but I'm okay with it. Like, he's got the crowd involved. That's fine.
Yeah, right. But nothing says, here comes a star, like answering an open challenge from Kurt Hawkins.
Why does he have batons on his pants?
Why does he have what on his pants?
Batons. He's like a majorette.
I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm sorry.
Well, I'll show you the logo. It's like, and then there are an X made out of batons. And
are you talking about Ty, or are you talking about?
I'm talking about Kurt Hawkins.
Oh, okay. He's just odd, is all I can say about that. But I mean, like, why is he even offering an open challenge? And if we're trying to establish Ty Dillinger, maybe, I mean, even Apollo Crews would have been a better choice to go over than Kurt Hawkins.
I can already smell it. Like, I can see and smell the Tyler Breeze and the the Adam Rose. I can already smell the Bo Dallas all over this guy. He's not going anywhere.
This is interesting. We haven't had this conversation before, but I agree with you. And the names you're comparing him to, I'm not saying talent-wise that's where he's at. I don't feel I'm qualified to comment on his talent just yet, as I've only seen.
Talk about getting over with the crowd. That's what I'm saying.
I just feel like, you know what? I'm not even going to say the crowd, because I think he might already be over more than some of those people were. But you also have to get over with the writers. And some of these NXT call-ups are great at it, and some of them just don't. Like, for example, there is nothing stopping Apollo Crews from being a world champion. Nothing, except for his writing. Same can be said for, well, okay, Baron Corbin he's come around, but take him 4 months ago. You know, the only thing stopping him was the writing. There are other great examples that are escaping me right now of even like that maybe even Adam Rose or the Bo Dallas. Like they're not getting written into stuff, and they're not getting written well. And I guess that's what I fear for Ty Dillinger.
Yeah, I just don't get it. I don't get it with that. I know I believe in Shinsuke Nakamura. He's going to be huge on SmackDown. I just wish they'd have done a little bit more with it.
Something they needed. There was nothing. If someone missed SmackDown on Tuesday, and like, man, I missed it. What happened? You'd be like, okay, Shinsuke Nakamura made his debut. Oh, sweet. What happened?
Yeah, you know who had a more impactful debut on SmackDown Live than Nakamura? Eric Rowan.
Right. Yeah, but you would be like, well, nothing. What do you mean? You can't say nothing happened. Well, yeah, they played his music, and there was a violin player like they do at the big NXT shows. And so, okay, so he came out, and what did he do?
Well, he wore that Eddie Murphy leather outfit from Raw that he did when Eddie Murphy Raw came out. He wore that red leather, and then you know, he bent backwards at one point.
Yeah, but he didn't do anything. Exactly. So that's my point, is that should be an impactful debut.
But he made that Jim Ross Bell's palsy face that he makes all the time. I'm sorry. That's what it looks like every time he does it with his face.
All of his facials are great. I don't expect Nakamura to go the way of the Bo Dallas.
No.
I don't expect that. I think he will be handled with care.
I expect him to get into a program with somebody. I'd say AJ Styles, but I feel like especially after that Shane McMahon segment, AJ Styles is going to Raw.
Remind me about. I didn't take any notes about the Shane McMahon segment.
So Shane McMahon comes out and he was like, they said Shane McMahon's going to give us information on the superstar shakeup. And it was like, whoa, he's going to come out. He's going to tell us all about it. And he comes out and he says, there's going to be a superstar shakeup. And that's all he said. And then AJ Styles came out and shook his hand. And then that was that. And said, I want to be here on SmackDown. This is the house that AJ Styles built. I want to stay on SmackDown. And Shane McMahon did one of these things because he's cool. And that was it. It was point.
See, I'm torn up here because in general, I guess I'm a Raw guy. Maybe it's just I don't know what it is. I guess I'm a Raw guy. So the idea of AJ going over to Raw is exciting to me, although I fear there won't be much for me on SmackDown if he does.
If they do a switcherooski with him and Roman, I can almost guarantee you I'm done watching SmackDown.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say it. Maybe I'd only do it for the sake of this podcast at that point.
Yeah.
But then again, there's things that we could do. You know, I don't know how you handle this, because some sort of shakeup is necessary. But this is another problem with the draft. I'm so opposed to it. Now, they have been able to build stars with this process they've been using, but they've also led to a whole lot of stale material, which we've covered ad nauseum on this show. So you need stuff like this, but I think stuff like this is kind of hokey.
Well, what's upsetting is, you know, SmackDown is getting stale with their guys, but then you mentioned someone, just for example, Apollo Crews. They underutilize him. If they used everybody they had properly, they'd at least have more of a chance of not seeming so boring. Like all the like, it's so weird to me. SmackDown could be the best show, and then 2 weeks later, I'm like, why am I bored?
Yeah, their hit percentage has been pretty low. Like I remember shortly after the draft happened, we were both like, "Whoa, SmackDown! Look at you." I would say for a while we even preferred it to Raw for a little bit in 2016. You know, what they had the Ziggler stuff we were feeling, the Miz stuff we were feeling.
Yeah, Ambrose was Ambrose again for a little while.
They had Ellsworth popping off, and that was exciting at first. And Cena with AJ was going really well. Like they were on fire for a minute, and now it's been very inconsistent at best. Would you agree?
It is a tag team graveyard. It is a women's division mess, and they should give the Miz a raise and AJ Styles a raise. Like because without those two, now that Cena's gone for a while, they're dead.
This is my only hope for SmackDown. Or this is my only hope for the Superstar shakeup. I don't want to get into predictions really because I feel like that's a waste of time. There's really no basis for them.
We're gonna miss so many times, you know it.
Yeah, it's really there's no way we can forecast. Like when we predict the pay-per-views, we're basing it on some sort of fact and an opinion, and we have a thought process that goes into it. But there's no point to actually do that, I feel like. But here's my hope. I don't expect this to happen, but I feel like they could really right the wrongs of the disservice they're doing to A, the women's division, and B, the tag division. If you can find a way to get the tag teams on one show and the women on one show, which I know will never happen, but I feel like you would do a big service to those divisions.
All right, Rob, hypothetically speaking, let's say you are all of a sudden you wake up today and you're in charge of making the decision. You're head booker for the WWE. Do you take New Day and Enzo and Cass and all those tag teams, the Revival, do you take them off of Raw and put them on SmackDown? Or do you take Charlotte, Bayley, Sasha Banks off of Raw and put them on SmackDown? Who do you take from Raw? You've got to move the tag team division or the women's division, and that's why they'll never do it, because they're not taking Charlotte off of Raw and they're not touching New Day.
No, I don't. Excuse me. I don't think either one of them are. I don't think they're booking SmackDown as the B show right now. So I don't think they're afraid to move any one person.
Okay.
So that's the first thing. What they are afraid of, and this makes sense too. Whether you move one of those divisions off either show, then you've got a 3-hour Raw or a 2-hour SmackDown or a 3-hour pay-per-view where you don't have either a tag team match or a women's match. And there is the inherent problem.
That's an issue.
Right, because you can't have 3 hours of wrestling without having a divas or a women's match. I hate saying divas. I apologize every time I do that. But you can't go 3 hours without a women's match. And while you can put individuals into tag teams, you can't really have a 3-hour Raw without a tag team match. So therein lies the problem. But we've got bigger problems here. That's why I just wish the brand extension would go away, which I know isn't going to happen anyway. But
it's not going to happen anyways. And I think SmackDown's suffering from the fact that they have a boring champion. I'll go ahead and say it. I think Randy Orton is boring. He is boring.
That's the first note I took, because obviously Orton was the first one out the gate. The first note I wrote reads, "I feel like this Orton title run will be dull," which is frustrating because I feel like Bray's title run would have been exciting.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I feel like Ellsworth with the championship would have been more exciting than than Randy Orton. Randy Orton, and I get it. He looks like a superstar. He's incredible in the ring. His mic work is good. I get it. He's over. He's got the most over finisher in all of professional wrestling. I don't know why I don't enjoy watching his matches. I just don't.
It could be because of how long we've been seeing him in the top position. I guess maybe stale is the word I would use, because I agree with you, and I agree with the way you put it. He is a top-notch worker, has great matches. I'll call him a fine promo. I'm not going to call him a great promo. I'll call him a fine promo.
I wouldn't say the word great.
I think that his character has room to. His character's just kind of he's him. The Viper thing is what it is. The RKO is the best finish in wrestling, in my opinion. Even back when it was the Diamond Cutter, there's no better finish than that move. Especially when you pull it out of nowhere the way DDP used to and the way Randy Orton still does.
Diamond Cutter out of nowhere.
Yeah, but like, I just feel like there's just not much to sink my teeth into, despite all those wonderful things about him. And it seems like the post show agrees. Like, I bet you a lot of the people who comment that they find Randy Orton boring would probably say it's not all of those things or any one of those things. It's just a combination of everything.
I do not believe he'll lose this title, though, until I think he's going to carry it over to SummerSlam.
I'll see where that's probably a safe bet, but I want to see where they're going, I guess.
I enjoyed Randy Orton the most, I think, when it was like the Legend Killer days. Like, I like that. Yeah,
when he was new, yeah, like post Evolution and the Legend Killer stuff. Yeah, that stuff was great.
I actually thought for a while, and I forget which WrestleMania it was, but I thought he should have been the one that ended the Undertaker's streak. I thought, like, that's a Legend Killer move. I thought that was perfect.
Yeah, I thought so too. 21 was the WrestleMania that happened at. And the timing was right, I felt like, for that, but obviously they didn't need it. So, that's good for them, I guess.
Right.
And then the only other thing I had about SmackDown last night was when they ran a promo for the next pay-per-view. Why didn't I write down the name of it? It's not Backlash anymore.
Oh, what was it? It was like an R word, right?
Yeah, I don't. Why is his name escaping?
Hold on. I'm not using my phone today. I can look it up.
It's the end of April. It's the last Sunday of this month. I think the 28th, or something like that. Was it Revenge or like? Man, I don't remember what it is.
Who's faster, Google or Steve?
I'm going to take Steve on this one. Because Steve probably won't have to look it up. Steve just knows because he's not stupid like we are. I'm waiting. I had to know. It's driving me crazy. Why can't I remember the name?
It has Payback, but that's not right.
Wait, maybe that is right. Maybe you know what? I think Payback is right.
Payback.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I don't know where we got the R. That's probably what my hang-up was.
Payback. And then they have NXT TakeOver Chicago as the next pay-per-view. I'm just looking at their schedule. So, yeah.
So, here's my question. Unless they're planning something crazy for the Superstar Shakeup, it looks like it's a Raw pay-per-view. Why?
I just closed it. I don't know.
Well, what'd you say?
I just closed it. I don't know.
Oh, no, it's okay.
It's Raw brand.
Well, Raw had the last one before WrestleMania. Shouldn't SmackDown have the next one?
Did they? I thought the Elimination Chamber was the last one.
Elimination Chamber was early in February, and Fastlane was a few weeks after that. I'm positive.
Right.
So where is this coming from? Why does Raw get the 2 pay-per-views in a row?
Didn't you realize WrestleMania was a SmackDown pay-per-view?
Anything else you want to throw in about SmackDown this week?
No, I was underwhelmed. I was disappointed, and I thought WWE looked foolish for trying to play up the crowd when the crowd wasn't there for them.
Yeah, or was the crowd there for them and they just didn't give them enough to work with? Because
that might have been it, but I think they were trying to catch lightning in a bottle 2 nights in a row, and I think fans were burnt out.
Mike had a great comment on the post show. He's right. Like, the fact that they're embracing it now takes a lot of the fun out of it. That's annoying. He compared it to like your parents telling you drinking is cool, and I thought that was a really good comparison because like that's totally what they're doing. Is I don't want it to be capitalized. I don't want them to do that. That's our thing. Let us do it.
Yeah, Raw after Mania.
So. All right, man. Thank you for your help today, and thank you for taking your time during your day to.
Absolutely, I'm not doing anything. I'm going to go work out here in a little bit, and maybe take a nap before the kids get off the bus. It's just a normal day. I'm just not at work.
Well, man, I appreciate it. I hope you have a great time. Hey, how far are you? Do you ever finish Batman? That game?
I am 68% of the way through the Asylum.
Are you still playing, or have you given up or anything? Or
no, I'm still playing. I'm stuck on Poison Ivy right now. What's funny is I thought that game was really small when we first like when I first bought it and when I was playing with you, I thought I was going to beat it that weekend.
Yeah, I didn't know what you were thinking. Jerry's playing Arkham Asylum for anyone who hasn't. I recommended that to him, and we bought it when I was visiting him. So
I take breaks from it, like last night, to watch This Is Us with my wife and sit on the couch crying like I'm at a funeral.
How far are you in that? That show was awesome too.
We're gonna watch the last episode of the first season today. That show makes me cry almost every episode.
Good, it's so good. All right, man. Let's sign off here. I bid you adieu. And when I play the music, I can't control it like I normally do, so you'll be drowned out. So I apologize for that. But thank you for your help. For myself, the Rob, my tag team partner in podcasting, the very cozy Jerry Valeri, who just went, I believe his streak is 2 podcasts from home without attacking his wife. He should be very proud of himself. Say hi to Kelly for me. Love you, Jer.